and welcome to Donnington Park for round 2 of the Lotus on Track Elise Trophy. First up, it's Class A. It's a handicap race whereby all but the first 4 cars to start are given a credit lap. Here's Simon Hill to explain those grids.
Thanks very much, Gemma. As you can see, it is a packed grid, as ever with Lotus on Track. All Class A cars are all running to a similar specification, but there's different levels of experience. Guys like Paul Quinn, who dominated at Brands Hatch. He's one of the group of 5 drivers who will set off from the start. They have to go around and make up a complete lap on this next group of drivers, headed by Adam Hamilton Fletcher. They start 25 seconds behind that group. 45 seconds, 60 seconds, and 75 seconds, moving all the way through to the last pack, headed by Andy Dolan, starting 105 seconds behind that leading group that we talked about a moment ago. So what that means is the front group have to make their way all the way round and take the lead by getting ahead of the group that started 25 seconds behind the leaders. So it should be very interesting. There should be plenty of overtaking throughout the pack. I'm joined by Rob Bath. Rob, it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Certainly will, Si. There'll be loads and loads of overtaking on the full Grand Prix circuit here at Donnington. Plenty of opportunity, so looking down at the start now.
So as you'll see, the first few drivers get away. A nice, neat start with the Union flag starting. Good old school stuff. Well, what else would you expect from Lotus? Probably the best known of all British manufacturers. And it's a nice, neat getaway by the 69 car of Paul Harding. Looks strong at Brands Hatch, but had some dramas. The yellow car's the one to watch, though. Paul Quinn, a man with a lot of experience, and he's on the move already, Rob.
Yes, Paul Quinn safely into second at the top of the Craner curves. He's pushing hard, he dominated at Brands, you say. He's down the inside at the old hairpin, and he's taken the lead, Simon.
Yeah, great move, very deep inside of it. In the background is some clatter of gravel, and I think that's Hans Baumhart. It is the 14 car. Well, that's a bit of a drama. He's got a lot of work to do now to try and get firstly off the grass, but then get himself back into contention. Now, this is the first of the group that started 45 seconds behind the leading pack, headed by the 47 car of Paul Patterson, and now the 60-second behind group. And that scrap that's going on there is the 25 car of Tess Howell. She's got a nice, neat move down the inside. Looked pretty strong there.
So car number 9, Martin Roberts, he heads the 75-second pack, Simon, off the line. They'll be making their way around down into the Craners and down into the old hairpin. We now see 2 cars running very close together, 39 and 41.
Yeah, looking very, very difficult to make that car stick sometimes. Not sure whether that driver on the outside is actually going to turn in on you. This is the last of the groups getting away, the 105-second pack. Now, they will have the leaders that we saw set off initially as we ride on board to Stuart Mason rather, into the corner. You can see in the background, that's the leaders coming through. Doesn't look like it's going to be long, Rob, before they're on top of them.
No, absolutely. The leaders looking at this big pack, that final group to set off, easily the largest of the packs setting off, and the leaders will be right on them as we ride on board now with James Knight as he comes down through the Craners and into the old hairpin.
Yeah, it looks like he's got that one done. You can see the 31 car just jinking out of his way there. Rob Shipley obviously didn't see that one coming. And this is a really, really difficult section of the circuit, Rob. Talk us through the final part of the lap. I think for a lot of drivers, it's probably one of the most challenging parts of racetrack anywhere in the UK.
It certainly is. At slow corners, the drivers finding it quite difficult to get the line right, both entry speed and exit speed. And going back to turn 1, that's 39.41. They're still at it, Simon.
Yeah, Stuart Kirkbride and Simon Deek racing hard. Great thing about the Lotus On Track series, you can always find a race somewhere in the pack. The idea behind this system is to make sure that you don't get a situation where guys like Paul Quinn, who are much more experienced than Paul Rand, these sort of guys don't just disappear away into the distance. You see them having to really, really fight hard. And it's the 15 car now of Paul Quinn chasing down the 99 car of James Knight. James Knight now turning into the first part of the chicane. He's wedded through. And the trick here, of course, Rob, to make sure you can get that done, but not lose too much speed on the exit.
Paul Quinn dispatched him nicely at the S's there, and they'll be coming down into this section. It's a very, very tight hairpin here. Easy to come into it too quick, and they will sacrifice exit speed. On board with James Knight through there. Oh, and Paul Quinney ran wide on the exit, Simon. He's on the grass.
Well, that's not the sort of thing you'd expect to find, rather, from Paul Quinn. A yellow flag being waved. I wondered if that was a separate incident. Couldn't quite see the beginning of that. We see now from the outside of James Knight's car, taking a slightly tighter line on the exit of Coppice there, Rob. It's a little bit unusual.
Yes, maybe looking to maximise the grip on the inside there, but cars normally taking the line of least resistance on the outside. Getting back to turn one, this is car number 5, that's Ken Savage.
Yeah, a bit under pressure, or putting pressure rather on Andy Dolan. And, that looks like that back was going to run and run. Difficult there through the first part of the Craners. Really struggling to get the car turned in. The 97 car of Andy Dolan didn't seem to want to get the car to turn. Usually with these Elises, that's the one thing that you can count on, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is a very nimble car. Oh, and that's Paul Quinn. He's in the gravel at the old hairpin. That's a huge gravel trap, but he's kept it running. That Elise, that's got mighty 4x4 capabilities for a little sports car.
Well, not the usual kind of off-roading that we'd expect to find from a driver of Paul's experience, but nevertheless, he managed to keep it going. Stuart Bolt there in the silver car, making his way through the pack, and this is where it's starting to overlap now. You're starting to see cars that are basically the same, pretty much identical in terms of performance. They're all Class A cars, as we said at the beginning. They're all starting to now fall over each other as the relative levels of experience start to catch up with each other. Of course, there's a lot of drivers in this race here, Rob, that have just really done some track day activity before this.
They certainly have, and those drivers clearly identified by a yellow cross with yellow background with a black cross on, and that means novice. They've got very limited race experience. It's right on board now with James Knight coming down into the slower front section.
Drivers have been rally crossing there. We saw Paul Quinn giving us a great demonstration there. There's a bit of gravel on the circuit as they turn into the hairpin. Looking like a possible late lunge there from Ken Savage. Well, he might have a savage name, but it was a very gentlemanly piece of driving by him there. But Knight is watching these two. This is the section I think so tricky here. Goddard, you took us through it from a driver's perspective, Rob.
Unfortunately, we just cut away there, but yeah, James Knight having a great view of the battle ahead of him, and Goddard is a very tricky left-hand that leads back onto the start-finish line, so as you say.
Adam Hamilton Fletcher, get the words out if I can. It was the 73 car. He was the first of the drivers with the 25-second delay behind the leaders. He was the guy in the black car that we saw coming through. Already we've seen a lot of action throughout the pack. Martin Rumble looking like he's starting to make some progress there, and Paul Quinn now back on track. Behind him, the 80 car of Stuart Mason. Just edged away a little bit from Rob Shipley. Now, look at the scrap here. Is Quinn going to be able to make his way through? Is that Quinn? No, in fact, it's the 5 car of Ken Savage that we saw earlier on, Rob.
Yes, Ken Savage, he's taking it nice and steady, trying to keep out of trouble by the look of it. He's just playing a waiting game, Simon, not pushing too hard, letting things come to him. But as you say, the longer this race goes on, the more the handicaps are working out.
A nice neat job coming through the craning curves there, in down to the chicane as we're getting into the latter part of the race, starting to overlap between starting points. James Knight down the inside. Sounds like he's just locked the rears up. Hargrave in the car, stop contact. Well, it was looking promising up to the point that other car turned in. What have we got going on here, Rob?
That's Stuart Kirkbride, Simon. He's really on a march now. He's scything up through some of the slower cars. Neat move, just like a computer game there on the start-finish straight.
I think he made about 4 places in one hit. That's about the most impressive overtaking manoeuvre I think we've seen so far in this race. As we make the way down to Craner curves once again, this absolutely fantastic scrap in the middle of the pack starts to unfold. With only now, I think, perhaps a couple of laps to go. 44 car of Stuart Moore, just slightly ahead of the rest of these guys. Now it looks like the 8 car here of Graham Walsh has worked his way up to the lead.
Yes, that's our race leader, Simon. So 8 leads in the latter half. Side by side through the Starkey's Kink there on the run up the hill.
Yeah, Ken Savage ahead once again in the 5 car. The lights are on there from one of the other guys in the middle of the pack as we now look towards what I think is a recovering Hans Baumgart after his little spin early on. Didn't seem to pick up any damage. And 31 of Rob Shipley we've seen already this afternoon, one of the less experienced guys. Now, this looks like it's Kirkbride getting himself up into 2nd place. That was a neat and tidy job.
It was very neat and tidy. I thought David Willey might have made it slightly harder for him by covering the inside, but no. Neatly threw up into 2nd. Riding on board now, Stuart Mason skipping through some of that gravel laid down at the S's. You can hear it rattling up on the inside of the wheel arches. Oh, that's somebody off at the hairpin. Simon, who's that?
That's Rush Treasure. Well, it looked like just maybe too much speed in. Obviously, with a rear-wheel drive car, you can easily get on the power too early and lose the back end of that. Fairly inexperienced, not done an awful lot of racing. Oh, but even though he's fairly inexperienced, he didn't end up doing that. It was Simon Deacon really making a mess of that one, Rob.
Oh, whether Simon was a little bit off-sighted, I don't know, but this is Stuart Kirkbride coming through now on the final lap.
And he's done a fantastic job. He's worked his way through and has taken a much-deserved victory here at Donnington Park. Fantastic stuff for Stuart Kirkbride. Works his way forwards and he's going to go home a very, very happy man. So Kirkbride wins by just over 7 seconds from Graham Walsh. Great result for David Willey in third position. Paul Patterson, Adam Hamilton Fletcher taking fifth. Tess Howell, Stuart Walt, Simon Deacon, Martin Roberts. Rounding out the top 10 was Damien Murray.
David Willey, your first race. Well done to you, third place.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock, really. Obviously, with a handicap, you never know where you are. And to see the checkered flag was quite a relief because I had a lot more faster cars behind me, and I tried to hold them up as best I can. Luckily, I think Paul was trying to get me at the Melbourne hairpin, but he sort of span a bit, and I luckily got him on the inside. So, yeah, a fantastic day, really.
You said you had problems yesterday, but you seem to have driven a blinding race today.
I think it was the driver yesterday, and obviously the conditions I blame. And the car was playing up a bit. So today, dry weather, I thought I'll change the car a bit. And I knew I was leading after the start, and I just went for it. And it paid off.
Yeah, this is my first full season I'm doing, really. So last year I was just learning, and this year I'm trying to do better, really. But I've been very lucky with a handicap today, really, because I started in the middle of the grid, which helped me a lot. So, and I just thought, well, whatever car I catch up with, I'll just try and pass straight away. This is my only hope, really. And I just have no idea where you are actually in the race. Just try and find, catch a car, overtake it, and then just carry on doing that, really, until the time runs out. So, but I was lucky enough to actually win for once.
Well, there you have a fantastic first race there, the handicap from Class A. Coming up after the break, it's Classes B and C.